Hello there. Today I'm going to tie this. This is small craft fur shrimp. A nice and well, it's not as easy as some other shrimp patterns, but because you have to do a dubbing loop from craft fur that has to have the certain order, but it's way cheaper, and this is kind of an alternative to making flies with the spay capes. The spay capes I prefer. But they are expensive. So if you want to have something that has an effect that is fairly similar to the spay hackle effect, then this is a good way to go. First up, I'm gonna use some teal. Teal is nice for making shrimps because it has some nice contrast. As I was saying, I'm gonna add some lead wire here, like that. In order non-lead wire. If you're in Denmark, then it's non-lead. If you're in anywhere else, probably then and lead is allowed, then use lead. Okay, so I'm gonna make a small dentation, something that to give this fly a bit of a contrast here, and something to have the eyes to have in order for the eyes to actually stand a bit out, like so. Just some purple, some pink dubbing here. And then I'm going to use some shrimp eyes, and if you haven't seen these, then they are without a doubt the coolest thing ever. They come on this small stalk, so they're easy to use, and they will last a hell of a long time, and will simply end very fast to use. So basically, you can see I'm tying them in here, like so, without any problem. I simply just attach them, and there I have perfect eyes for my shrimp. And because of this, they're attached to this thing there. They will stay there. So basically, I have the eyes here. They're super fluorescent as well. So basically, that's it. I have my eyes and my mouth parts, and then I'm gonna take some of this. This is craft fur. And basically, what I do is it's on kind of like a sheet of rock or something, and then basically I take a big bundle of this, and I hold it out. Like so, kind of like the hairs on one of those troll dolls you could buy in the 80s or whenever. Actually, there was a movie about them all, so if you have a kid, you maybe have seen it. I did with my kid. So basically, I'm gonna take the lower part of this and pull this out, because we're not gonna need that. We only need the tips here. So, and I think some of this is a bit too long, so I'm gonna pull that out as well. Like that. And basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie this so it's gonna look like a hackle without being a hackle. So I try to make this go all the way around, 360 degrees around, uniformly distributed as evenly as I can, like so. Let's take a look at how that looks. Basically, that looks pretty okay to me. Yeah, that's fine. Now I'm gonna cut the rest of this stuff off as close to the hook as I can. Like that. Tie this down here, like so. And just in order to get this to, be where I want it to for the next moment, I'm just gonna add some saliva and just pull it back like that. So basically, you can see, there it is. My camera is bothering me like that. So basically, there you have it. And now what we need to do is first we need to make a small body of dubbing. And I want some copper dubbing, because copper is a great color. It will add some flash effect and stuff like that. And then I'm gonna make a hackle from a dubbing loop. So I take some flashy boo dubbing in copper. I think actually this is called brown. It's a darker shade of copper that I really like for flies like this. Oh, I need to make my dubbing loop first. Stupid me. So I'm sorry about that. Gonna make my dubbing loop first. This does not necessarily has to be particularly big. Like so, dubbing loop, hanging that off to the side, and then I'm gonna use the dubbing here. like so. And of course we want this fly to taper, so that it tapers down towards the eye here. I'm just gonna, you know, just applying this dubbing fairly easily and with not much fuss. Simply just taking some and just applying it directly to the thread. You could make 2 dubbing loops, but I think that would be simply, well, a bit too much. This is easier and works really well, because the Fleischer Boost strands here is fairly long, so we can pull out a lot of those later on, which will make the fly look really nice and transparent and kind of like a shrimp. I really like this copper, dark brown or light brown, or yeah. You'll find the exact name in the material list if you click the links. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, then really I would appreciate it. And if you would, that would mean a lot to me. Like so. And now comes the tricky part, because now comes the part where you have to use the dubbing loop in order to make a hackle from craft fur. So basically, again, I select a piece of craft fur here. So I take a bundle, perhaps like so. The amount, it depends, of course, and varies depending on what hook size you're going to use. But I think this is probably a good size for me. For this is a size 4 stinger hook from Eric's. So I take out some of the dubbing, all the woolly part down there. I remove that completely, and then I want this to be fairly uniform in length. So I take out some of this, and I redistribute it so all my tips are approximately the same length. What I'm doing is I'm holding it like this, and then not holding it completely together, and simply just pulling out some of the fibers here and then re-adding them. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see how long this should be. It should be approximately from the tip of the hook, and then a little further behind than about to where the tail ends. Then I'm going to cut off this right there. So I have some fairly uniform stumps. Then I'm going to take this. As you can see, it's very much more short than it was before. And then I'm going to add it to my dubbing loop. Like that. Then I'm going to distribute this with my fingers. And when you have the dubbing loop, what you do is you have the... I'll pull it out again to tell you. You have the pointing finger, and that goes inside the dubbing loop. And then you have this one, the not so polite finger, or whatever you want to call it, and you can simply use that to open the loop or to close it. And it's very important to keep the loop as closed as possible when you're distributing this fibers here. So I distribute these over a fairly large amount. I want this to be scarce. I do not want this to be clumped up in big clumps. So I want this to be stretched out over a longer part of the dubbing loop here, like so. And then, as you can see now, it's almost as long on both sides. I simply want to put this in so it's basically as close to the dubbing loop on the short end as possible without losing the fibers. That's really important, because otherwise you will get a very ugly fly. As you can see, the closer you get this, the better result you will get, but also the closer you get to panic and failure. As you can see now, you can probably see I have fairly close to the dubbing loop here. Okay, and I'm gonna take my dubbing tool, and I can see that I have not cleaned my dubbing tool for quite a while. Just had to do that. And I take my dubbing, my turbo twister here, add it to this, hold this as tight as I can, start turning, and then I get a nice pseudo hackle. And of course, the more I twist this, the stronger this will be. But I want to look at this and I say, oh, maybe this is a bit too much here. So before I completely finish it, I'm going to pull out a bit of these strands in order for this fly not to be too dense. Because it is a shrimp, and shrimps are, per definition, very transparent. So like so. I'm going to look at this to see. Yeah, I'm fairly pleased with the result now, so I'm going to turn this exactly as if I was turning a hackle. So I'm going to try to hold all the stuff back. I need a bit more back here, I see. So the first turn needed to be a bit more thick, like that. And as you can see, I'm turning this exactly as if it were a hackle. And I executed that, well, actually perfectly. Because the end of my loop fitted up exactly with the eye. Well, that was more luck than, you know, experience, but sometimes you get lucky. It's better to have have a longer stretch of dubbing loop, so you have to cut something off, than it is to have not enough. Well, basically, I'm going to fold all this back, and then I'm going to do a whip finish. You could, of course, have used some rib here, but the dubbing loop really is strong and hold the craft fur fibers fairly well, like so. Of course, you add some super glue and stuff like that if you want. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some of the dubbing here to give it this halo effect with the Flashaboo dubbing. And of course you can use a lot of time doing this, pulling it out so it's completely. Otherwise, simply just take your dubbing brush, brush everything back here. If you think it's too much material, you can always apply some force and simply, you know, force drag some of these fibers out. But basically, there you have it, a very transparent, very alive shrimp that looks absolutely awesome in the water. But it's also fairly cheap to make, which is what this fly has going for it. It's the level of availability of the materials, of the individual materials. It's how it performs in the water, and then that it's fairly inexpensive to make. That makes this be a nice shrimp. So, well, thank you a lot for watching, and of course, if you haven't subscribed, then please do. And as always, if you like this fly, you can find a complete material kit for this fly on my website, flytying.eu. So please swing by. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.